Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamuditye Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So, continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, Yamraj instructs his messengers. Text number 2021 onwards. So, in the previous verse, Yamraji told Yamdutas the real principles are, or real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu sakshat bhagvat pranitam. So not just the Vedas pranitam, because this is what Yamdutas told Vishnudutas. When Vishnudutas had asked him, what is religion and what is irreligion? So they say whatever mentioned in Vedas is religion. So Vedas talk about many things. Karma Khan, Gyan Khan, Upasana Khan. So now Yamraji is boiling it down to whatever Supreme Personality of Godhead says, that is religion. Because he wants to come to the highest state of religion, Bhagavad Dharma. Vedas also talk about Dharma. It's not that Vedas are against. But Karma Kand is not the topmost Dharma. So Yamraji is saying, so only whatever Krishna says, or whatever is enacted by Krishna, that is Dharma. And how do we know what he says? Now he talks about here. Swayambhur Narada Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Manu Pralado Janako Bhishmo Baliravaya Sikirvayam Dwadashate Vijanimo Dharmam Bhagavatam Bhataha Guyam Vishuddham Durbodham Yam Gyatvam Mritam Mashnute. So Lord Brahma, Bhagwan Narad, he called him Bhagwan Narad. That's okay. Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Lord Kapil, the son of Devahuti, Swayambhuva Manu, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami, and I myself know the real religious principles. So these are the 12 Mahajans mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are the authorities of Bhakti actually. The real religious principle is Bhakti. My dear servants, this transcendental religious principle, which is known as the Bhagavad Dharma, or surrender unto the Supreme Lord, and love for Him, is uncontaminated by the material modes of nature. It is very confidential and difficult for ordinary human beings to understand. But if by chance one fortunately understands it, he is immediately liberated, and thus he returns home back to Godhead. So this is a real religion, and these are the authorities of religion. So, but then somebody can say, why is Srila Prabhupada not an authority? Of course, he is not mentioned here. So his Prabhupada's not name, but the personification is mentioned in Chaitanya Mangal, where Mahaprabhu says, one my Senapati Bhakta will come and he will take this message of mine all over the world, and he will spread it all over the world. So that obviously is referring to Srila Prabhupada. But then there are other, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Yes, there are many, many authorities. But so if we look at Lord Brahma, when Sri Yamraji said Lord Brahma, so Brahmaji established this sampradaya. Brahmadva, well, later on it became Madhva Gaudiyas, but Brahma Sampradaya. So in that Sampradaya, whoever is the real authority, means whoever is following their spiritual master properly, then they all are authorities. So similarly, Lord Shiva Sampradaya, or Rudra Sampradaya, and then the Kumar Sampradaya, and then the Sampradaya comes from Lakshmiji also, Shri Sampradaya. So they also have lots and lots of authorities, but these are the major 12 authorities that Yamraji himself is saying that they know the Bhagavad Dharma. And this is what they are also. And Narad is, obviously, he is the spiritual master of the whole universe. And he's been preaching all over. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna refers to Bhagavad Dharma as the most confidential religious principle. Sarva Guhyatamam Guhyad Guhyataram. Krishna says to Arjuna, because you are my very dear friend, I am explaining to you the most confidential religion. Sarva Dharman Pariteja Mam Ekam Sharanam. Give up all other duties and surrender unto me. One may ask, if this principle is very rarely understood, what is the use of it? In answer, Yamaraj states herein that this religious principle is understandable if one follows the parampara system of Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, and the other standard authorities. There are 4 lines of disciplic succession, one from Lord Brahma, one from Lord Shiva, one from Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, and one from the Kumaras. The disciplic succession from Lord Brahma is called Brahma Sampradaya. The succession from Lord Shiva, Shambhu, is called the Rudra Sampradaya. The one from goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, is called Shri Sampradaya. And the one from the Kumaras is called Kumar Sampradaya. One must take shelter of one of these 4 sampradayas in order to understand the most confidential religious system. In the Padma Puran, it is said, Sampradaya Vihina Yamantrasya Nishfalamata. If one does not follow the 4 recognized disciplic successions, his mantra or initiation is useless. In the present day, there are many up-sampradayas or sampradayas which are not bona fide, which have no link to authorities like Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the Kumaras, or Lakshmi. People are misguided by such sampradayas. The Shastras say that being initiated in such a sampradaya is a useless waste of time, for it will never enable one to understand the real religious principles. So these 4 sampradayas, they are the bona fide sampradayas, and obviously Kali Yuga means quarrel and hypocrisy. So even in these sampradayas, somebody can claim he is following, but he might be doing his own stuff. Just like when Krishna gave the knowledge to Arjuna, the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, he said, I gave this knowledge to Suryadev, Vivaswan, in the beginning of creation, but somehow the parampara was broken. And now I am giving it again to you. So it is a possibility that parampara can be broken because Kali Yuga is very strong. So parampara being broken means he doesn't, the real knowledge doesn't come down properly. Because we don't follow or we add our own thing in there. So it's just like if the light is coming through different lenses, but one of the lens becomes corrupt or it has add some color to it, then the light following that lens will not be the same light before it. So then the knowledge gets discarded. It gets disturbed. even Gaudiya Parampara. Before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, there were so many acharyas, Baldev Bhushan, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and so many, Narottam Das Thakur. But before Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose guru was Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, he didn't take Diksha from Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. He took Diksha from a guru named Vipin Bihari Goswami, but he took Shiksha from Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj. So some things got messed up there also before him. And there were so many apasampradayas. Prabhupada mentioned this word. In the present day, there are many apasampradayas, so sampradayas which are not bona fide. Now, even in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, there were so many. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has listed 13 apasampradayas, which were not following the teachings of six Goswamis or Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu properly, but they were all claiming to be in that sampradaya. And people at that time, they were looking down upon Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that because those apasampradayas, they were very prevalent, and those were more out in the public. And that's the image of Gaudiya Vaishnavism was at that time in the eyes of the public, that this is what Gaudiya Vaishnavism is. And so people didn't want to follow it. They didn't want to, or in their mind, this is what Vaishnavism looks like. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he re-established the real teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and six Goswamis. We can only imagine how hard he must have worked, especially when to get some books, he had to wait such a long time to get a copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. They said it took him 2 years to get a bona fide copy, the right copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. And that too, when the British rule was there, and he was a high court judge, although he had the power, but still he had to spend so much time in other activities. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur really struggled, and that's when he prayed to Lord Jagannath when he was living in Jagannath Puri. He prayed, please send me somebody who can help me in establishing the teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Send me your ray, a ray of Vishnu. And that is when Bimla Prasad was born in his house, who later became Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he was really strict. And he established Gaudiya Maths. And then obviously Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had many disciples, many disciples. And then came one of the disciples was Srila Prabhupada, who brought the message to the West and established ISKCON. So they all are in Sampradaya, in the proper parampara. But there are, even in the parampara, there will be very few who would really follow properly and establish the message properly. So they all are considered authorities. But here, Yamarajji is saying only 12 Mahajans. Etavane lokyasmin punsam dharma parasmrita bhakti yogo bhagavati tannam grihanadipi. Devotional service, beginning with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, is the ultimate religious principle for the living entity in human society. As stated in the previous verse, Dharmam Bhagavatam, real religious principles are Bhagavad Dharma, the principles described in Srimad Bhagavatam itself or in the Bhagavad Gita. The preliminary study of the Bhagavatam. What are these principles? The Bhagavatam says, Dharma projita ketavatra. In Srimad Bhagavatam, there are no cheating religious systems. Everything in the Bhagavatam is directly connected with the Supreme Personality of God. The Bhagavatam further says, Sarve Punsa Param Parodhar. The supreme religion is that which teaches its followers how to love the Supreme Personality of God, who is beyond the reach of experimental knowledge. Such a religious system begins with Tannamagriham, chanting of the holy name of the Lord. After chanting the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, one gradually sees the form of the Lord, the pastimes of the Lord, and the transcendental qualities. So Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, everything is revealed. After chanting of the holy name of the Lord and dancing in ecstasy, means after getting fully purified, everything is revealed. This way, one fully understands the situation of the personality of Godhead. One can come to this understanding of the Lord, how he descends into the material world, how he takes his birth, and what activities he performs. But one can know this only by executing devotional service. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Bhaktya Mam Avijanati. Krishna says it in chapter, Bhaktya Mam, only by Bhakti I am to be known. Simply by devotional service, one can understand everything about the Supreme Lord. If one fortunately understands the Supreme Lord in this way, the result is Tyaktva Deham Punarjanma Naiti. After giving up his material body, he no longer has to take birth in this material world. Instead, he returns home back to Godhead. That is the ultimate perfection. Therefore, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Mam upete punarjan. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. So this is a real dharma. So dharma means which takes us back to the spiritual world, after which we don't have to take birth again and go through these miseries of this material world again and again. So that is real dharma. Not dharma means dharma, artha, kama, moksha, chatur dharma, or whatever we want to call it, which means you just take birth, you do some religious activity, and we get some material benefits, and then we enjoy. Moksha, hardly anybody comes to the level of moksha. Only thing is dharma, artha, and kam. That's not real dharma. And this is what Bhagavad Dharma or devotional service is. And this is why it's established in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Namocharana Mahatmayam Hare Pashyat Putrakaha Ajamilo Api Yeneva Mrityu Pashadam Uchyata. My dear servants, who are as good as my sons, just see how glorious is the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. The greatly sinful Ajamil chanted only to call his son, not knowing that he was chanting the Lord's holy name. Nevertheless, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, he remembered Narayan, and thus he was immediately saved from the ropes of death. So this is bhakti. There is no need to conduct research into the significance of the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. The history of Ajamil is sufficient proof of the power of the Lord's holy name and the exalted position of a person who chants the holy name incessantly. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised, Hare Nam, Hare Nam, Hare Nam Evkeva. In this age of Kali, no one can perform all the ritualistic ceremonies for becoming liberated. That is extremely difficult. Therefore, all the Shastras and all the Acharyas have recommended that in this age, one chant the holy name. Only the holy name, only the holy name, only the holy name. Text 24. Etavatalam agh nirharanay punsam sankirtanam bhagavato gunakarma namnam vikrushya putram aghvan yad ajamilo api narayane timriyamana iyaya muktim. Therefore, it should be understood that one is easily relieved from all sinful reactions by chanting the holy name of the Lord and chanting of his qualities and activities. This is the only process recommended for relief from sinful reactions. Even if one chants the holy name of the Lord with improper pronunciation, he will achieve relief from material bondage if he chants without offenses. Ajamil, for example, was extremely sinful, but while dying, he merely chanted the holy name. And although calling his son, he achieved complete liberation because he remembered the name of Narayan. So this is how powerful the holy name is. because he chanted without offenses, although he was extremely sinful, but he chanted without an offense. In the assembly of Raghunath Das Goswami's father, Haridas Thakur, confirmed that simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is liberated, even if he does not chant completely inoffensively. So if he just chants a glimpse at the Nama Bhasa stage, Smartha Brahmins and Mayavadis do not believe that one can achieve liberation in this way. But the truth of Haridas Thakur's statements is supported by many quotations from Srimad Bhagavatam. In his commentary on this verse, for example, Sridhar Swami gives the following quotation: Sayam pratar grinan bhaktya dukha gramad vimuchyate. If one always chants the holy name of the Lord with great devotion in the evening and in the morning, one can become free from all material miseries. Another quotation confirms that one can achieve liberation if one hears the holy name of the Lord constantly, every day with great respect. Anudinam idam adarena shranvan. Another quotation says, Shravanam kirtanam dhyanam harera advata karmana janma karma gunanam cha tad arthe akhila chestitam. One should always chant and hear about the extraordinarily wonderful activities of the Lord. One should meditate upon these activities and one should endeavor to please the Lord. So that's all our duties are, just to chant and remember the Lord. Sridhar Swami also quotes from the Puranas, Papakshayacha Bhavati Smaratam Tam Aharnisham. One can become free from all sinful reactions simply by remembering the lotus feet of the Lord day and night. Furthermore, he quotes from Bhagavatam, Tasmat Sankirtanam Vishnur. All these quotations prove that one who constantly engages in chanting and hearing of the holy activities, name, fame, and form of the Lord is liberated. As stated wonderfully in this verse, Etavatalam aga nirharanaya punsam. Simply by uttering the name of the Lord, one is freed from all sinful reactions. So this is the mercy of the Lord. This is the mercy of the Lord's holy name also. Simply by uttering, one is freed from all sinful reactions. And just imagine, even in America, nobody knows about the glories of the holy name. Nobody knows. But if they have just said the full name of our previous Prime Minister, Manmohan Singh. So Mohan, that's the name of Krishna. Manmohan, that's the name of Krishna. Everybody's sinful reactions are gone. If they chant full name, say the full name of Prime Minister Modi, Narendra Damodar Das Modi, not just Modi. Modi will not help. But Narendra Damodar Das, Damodar, that's another name of Krishna. That's how merciful Krishna is. And how many sins we all commit every day. It's amazing. And not just that. If we ever get a chance to speak on Harinam Chintamani, that's a book by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, but that's a conversation between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Haridas Thakur. So in that book, it says, even if somebody, suppose he ends his sentence with, say, Ra, and he starts the next sentence with Ma. But mercy of Lord is, he combines the two, Ram. And he said, this guy chanted the name Ram. Even if, like I have said, this story, it's mentioned in the Puranas that one of the Yavans, while he got attacked by a pig or a boar. Boar is a jungly boar. So looking at the boar and he was being attacked, so he just said haram, haram. This is haram means this is abominable. But haram had the name Ram in it. So just by saying haram also, because he was being attacked by the pig at that time, he died, and last words coming out of his mouth was Ram. And the Vishnu Dutas came and took him back to the spiritual. Here in America, there is a truck, like a car. There is a small truck, and its name is Ram, Dodge company, and the model is Ram. They call it Ram, but actually it is Ram. When we read it in the back of the truck, it says Ram, R-A-M. So the person gets a benefit. It's not that they are chanting, it's that the Lord is very merciful. And we all are children of the same God. He wants all of us back. So that's why he has given these different avenues by following which we can go back home, back to content. There's so many things. Just like in India, we have the small doctors. They have their businesses or offices. They call this whatever, Jan nursing home and this nursing home. Now, nursing home is doing for nursing, but it's the name of Lord Narasimha. Nursing there. So they all get benefited, not just them, the patients also get benefited. So as much as possible, we should name our children after the name of the Lord, or whichever way we can help others to remember the name of the Lord. That ultimately gives them the benefit and us also the benefit. But obviously, most benefit we get by lovingly, devotedly chanting of the holy names of the Lord. The word alam, which is used in this verse, indicates that simply uttering the holy name of the Lord is sufficient. This word is used with different imports, as stated in the Amar Kosha, the most authorized dictionary in the Sanskrit language. Alam Bhushan Prayapati Shakti Varana Vachakam. The word alam is used to mean ornament, sufficiency, power, and restraint. Here the word alam is used to indicate that there is no need of any other process, for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord is sufficient. Even if one chants imperfectly, one becomes free from all sinful reactions by chanting. This power of chanting the holy name was proved by the liberation of Ajamil. When Ajamil chanted the holy name of Narayan, he did not precisely remember the Supreme Lord. Indeed, he remembered his own son. At the time of death, Ajamil certainly was not very clean. Indeed, he was famous as a great sinner. Furthermore, one's physiological condition is completely disturbed at the time of death. And in such an awkward condition, it would certainly have been very difficult for Ajamil to have chanted clearly. Nevertheless, Ajamil achieved liberation simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord. Therefore, what is to be said of those who are not sinful like Ajamil? It is to be concluded that with a strong vow, one should chant the holy name of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. For thus one will certainly be delivered from the clutches of Maya by the grace of Krishna. So this is how effective and powerful is this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is recommended even for persons who commit offenses, because if they continue chanting, they will gradually chant offenselessly. By chanting the Hare Krishna mantra without offenses, one increases his love for Krishna. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prema Pumartha Maha. One's main concern should be to increase one's attachment to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to increase one's love for Him. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following words from Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam dharmera manushyana. My dear Uddhav, the supreme religious system for human society is that by which one can awaken his dormant love for me. Commenting on this verse, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes the word bhakti by saying, prema voktaha, kaha anya arthasya. In the presence of bhakti, what is the necessity of liberation? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also quotes this verse from Padma Puran. Nam aparad yuktanam namani eva haranti agnam avishranti prayuktani tani evarha karani cha. Even if in the beginning one chants the Hare Krishna mantra with offenses, one will become free from such offenses by chanting again and again. Papakshas cha bhavati smaratam tam aharanisham. One becomes free from all sinful reactions if one chants day and night, following the recommendations of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It was Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who quoted the following verse, Harer Nam, Harer Nam ev kevalam, kalo nastev, gatiranyata. In this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. If the members of the Krishna consciousness movement strictly follow this recommendation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, their position will always be secure. So it's a safe and secure position. Always chant the holy name. Kirtanya Sada Hari. Always. And this is what Prabhupada is saying. Even if we start with, of course, we all start with offenses. Let me take it away. We start in an offenseless stage, actually, when we start chanting. Because we are so new, we are so innocent, and we just have faith in the holy name, in the Vaishnavas, in the process, in everything. So we start chanting offenselessly, just like Ajamil was chanting. He was calling out his son. But then slowly, because we get some little knowledge, then we start committing offenses against the devotees, against the deities, against the holy name. Then our chanting, from attentive chanting, it goes to inattentive chanting. In the beginning, we really chant with lots of attention and lots of love, and with every bead we chant upon, we want to hear the holy name because there's so much of enthusiasm. But then slowly, we become familiar with devotees, with the holy name, with everything. And we start committing offenses. And one offense is the inattentive chanting. So from that offensive stage, coming back to offenseless stage, and then going further to pure stage, it takes time. But this is the process to go further also. There's no other process. To keep on chanting. Even if it is offensive chanting, still carry on. That's why sometimes people say, oh, you guys are always having your hand in the bead bag and chanting so many rounds. Where is your mind? If your mind is not there in chanting, what is the use of this chant? No, the use of chanting is always there. How else we're going to engage our mind in the service of the Krishna, in the service of the Lord. It's not like one day all of a sudden we'll switch and our mind and turn it towards offenseless or pure chanting. It will come with practice. And actually, bhakti is more of a process of it's called pushti or nourishment or mercy. So when Krishna, when acharyas see our struggle in chanting of the holy name, but we still are sincere and determined and we don't give up chanting, they give the mercy. They give the mercy by which the anarthas slowly start to go away, and we start to get a little, maybe just a glimpse of that taste. We start to get that taste. It only happens with mercy. And bhakti process means mercy process. Our efforts are required to invoke that mercy of the Lord, of Guru, of the Acharyas. So then our efforts basically invoke that mercy. So it's not that we become proud of our efforts. So see, I chanted 3 lakh names for so many days and that's why I got Krishna Prem. No, that's not Krishna Prem. The humility. That's what Mahaprabhu in the Shikshashtakam, he said, Trinadapi Shunichena Taro Riva Sahishna Manina Manadena Kirtanya Sadahari. Without humility, we cannot chant constantly. If you're chanting constantly, then these qualities of humility, tolerance, not expecting any respect, but still giving respect to others, these qualities will develop. So this part we have to understand that it's not by my chanting I'm getting anything. It's by my sincerely endeavoring to chant, is invoking the mercy. And because of that mercy, I'm trying or I'm making some advancement. That's all. Text 25. Prayena Veda tad idam na mahajanoyam devya vimohit matirbat maya yalam trayam jadi krit matir madhu pushpitayam vetanike mahati karmani yujyamana. Because they are bewildered by the illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Yagyavalkya and Gemini and other compilers of the religious scriptures cannot know the secret, confidential religious system of the 12 Mahajans. They cannot understand the transcendental value of performing devotion service or chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, because their minds are attracted to the ritualistic ceremonies mentioned in the Vedas, especially the Yajurveda, Samaveda, and Rigveda. Their intelligence has become dull. Thus, they are busy collecting the ingredients of ritualistic ceremonies that yield only temporary benefits, such as elevation to Sargaloka for material happiness. They are not attracted to the Sankirtan movement. Instead, they are interested in Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Since one may easily achieve the highest success by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one may ask why there are so many Vedic ritualistic ceremonies and why people are attracted to them. This verse answers that question. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vedasya Sarvera Aham Eva Vedya. The real purpose of studying the Vedas is to approach the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. Unfortunately, unintelligent people, bewildered by the grandeur of Vedic yagyas, want to see gorgeous sacrifices performed. They want Vedic mantras chanted and huge amounts of money spent for such ceremonies. Sometimes we have to observe the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies to please such unintelligent men. Recently, when we established a large Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan, we were obliged to have Vedic ceremonies enacted by Brahmins, because the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the Smartha Brahmins, would not accept Europeans and Americans as bona fide Brahmins. Thus, we had to engage Brahmins to perform costly yagyas. In spite of these yagyas, the members of our society performed Sankirtan loudly with mridangas, and I considered the Sankirtan more important than the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies. Both the ceremonies and the Sankirtan were going on simultaneously. The ceremonies were meant for persons interested in Vedic rituals for elevation to heavenly planets, whereas the Sankirtan was meant for pure devotees interested in pleasing the Supreme Personality of God. We would simply have performed Sankirtan, but then the inhabitants of Vrindavan would not have taken the installation ceremony seriously. As explained here, the Vedic performances are meant for those whose intelligence has been dulled by the flowery language of the Vedas, which describe fruitive activities intended to elevate one to the higher planets. So, huge difference between the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies, the yagyas, and Sankirtan Yagya, the chanting of the holy names. And this Prabhupada is talking about is the ISKCON Vrindavan temple. So that temple was inaugurated in 1972. So these purports, so Prabhupada must have written afterwards, so after that inauguration. So in that temple, and Prabhupada mentions here, and also other places he mentioned that to make sure Prabhupada, because there were so many other temples in Vrindavan, and there's so many leaders, religious leaders, and Prabhupada was afraid that they will not recognize the ISKCON Vrindavan as a bona fide temple if we don't do the yagya the way everybody else does. But Prabhupada saying, actually, it was not needed. Sankirtan was good enough. Because Sankirtan is Sankirtan Yagya. But to satisfy everybody, Prabhupada made this arrangement. But the problem is, now this Yagyic ceremonies, even in ISKCON, have become so big. Of course, Harinam also goes on with any yagya, but these ceremonies have become so big and taking us away from the real process. And these ceremonies, Vedic rituals, as Prabhupada said, this is for elevation to heavenly planets, not for a person to get Krishna Prema. In this day and age, the only yagya that is recommended for achieving Krishna Prema is Sankirtan Yagya. And Prabhupada says that, next paragraph, especially in this age of Kali, Sankirtan alone is sufficient. If the members of our temples in the different parts of the world simply continue Sankirtan before the deity, especially before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they will remain perfect. There is no need of any other performances. Nevertheless, to keep oneself clean in habits and mind, deity worship and other regulative principles are required. Srila Jiva Goswami says that although Sankirtan is sufficient for the perfection of life, the archana or worship of the deity in the temple must continue in order that the devotees may stay clean and pure. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur therefore recommended that one follow both processes simultaneously. We strictly follow his principle of performing deity worship and Sankirtan along parallel lines. This we should continue. But the other yagyas, they are not needed. So deity worship is Pancharatrik Vidhi, Sankirtan is Bhagavad Vidhi. So it's also, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that they both are like two tracks of a railway line on which the train of bhakti, train of service, train of devotion service runs very smoothly. So both are required, deity worship and Sankirtan. But even among them, Sankirtan is more powerful. Evam vimrishya sudhiyo bhagavati anante sarvatmana vidate khalu bhava yogam temena dandam arhan tyarth yadyam isham syat patakam tadapi hanti urugaya vadaha. Considering all these points, if intelligent men decide to solve all problems by adopting the devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart and who is a mine of all auspicious qualities, such persons are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. So Yamaraj is clarifying this position. Such persons who are engaged in devotional service by chanting of the holy name, they are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. Generally, they never commit sinful activities, but even if by mistake or because of bewilderment or illusion, they sometimes commit sinful acts. They are protected from sinful reactions because they always chant the Hare Krishna mantra. See, so the hellish description, those hellish planets, it's good for us to know, but I'm sure we are not going there. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following words from the prayers of Lord Brahma. Athapi te deva padam bhujadvaya. The purport is that even though one is a very learned scholar of the Vedic Shastras, he may be completely unaware of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his name, fame, qualities, and so forth. Whereas one who's not a great scholar can understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he somehow or other becomes a pure devotee of the Lord by engaging in devotional service. Therefore, this verse is spoken by Yamaraj says, Evam vimrishya sudhiyo bhagavati. Those who engage in the loving service of the Lord become sudhiya, intelligent. But this is not so of a Vedic scholar who does not understand Krishna's name, fame, and qualities. A pure devotee is one whose intelligence is clear. He is truly thoughtful because he engages in the service of the Lord, not as a matter of show, but with love, with his mind, words, and body. Non-devotees may make a show of religion, but it's not very effective because although they ostentatiously attend a temple or church, they are thinking of something else. Such persons are neglecting their religious duty and are punishable by Yamaraj. But a devotee who commits sinful acts, which he may do unwillingly or accidentally because of his former habits, is excused. That is the value of the Sankirtan movement. So this is how powerful the chanting of the holy names is. Even Yamraj says, they don't come under my jurisdiction if they're chanting, those who chant the holy names. And not under the jurisdiction of Yamaraj, but those who are constantly chanting slowly, they make progress from offensive to offenseless to pure chanting, and then get pure love for Krishna. This is the only way. That's why Mahaprabhu said, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtana. Param Vijayate. Let there be all victory, the resounding victory, the transcendent victory to the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And one doesn't even have to be a great scholar. In fact, one who is a scholar, chances are he won't be able to even understand the position of Krishna or his devotees. Just like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, when he was at Srirangam, he saw a Brahman boy reading Bhagavad Gita, and he was crying. And Mahaprabhu got curious. He went to that boy. He said, "My dear Brahman boy, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, it is the order of my guru to read Bhagavad Gita every day." Mahaprabhu said, "Okay, but why is everybody around you laughing?" He said, the boy said, "Actually, I'm illiterate. I cannot read, but it is order of my guru to read, so I'm just trying to read." Okay, but then why are you crying? The boy said, "Actually, whenever I pick up Bhagavad Gita, all I can see in every verse is how merciful Krishna is towards his devotees, that he has taken such a humble position, such a menial position to serve his devotee Arjuna, that he has become a charioteer of Arjuna." And just that scene, picture comes to my mind, and I cannot stop crying. Mahaprabhu was so pleased. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so pleased with his answer. He just embraced him. He said, "You have really understood the message of Bhagavad Gita." See, all those Brahmins who were around that boy, they were scholars. They knew Sanskrit and they knew Bhagavad Gita in and out, could not understand the real message of Bhagavad Gita. But this boy understood. And Mahaprabhu said, you should be called Gita Acharya, because you have understood Bhagavad Gita. So this is what bhakti is. And this boy's bhakti and his guru nishtha was so great that it invoked the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who himself embraced him. Cannot achieve anything higher than that. But this he did not get by the scholarship or by any other means, only by bhakti. So we are also trying to study Srimad Bhagavatam only because it's the order of Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, we don't know. We don't understand anything. But it's the order of Srila Prabhupada that's trying to read and understand and preach. Hopefully, this will invoke Prabhupada's mercy on us. So I guess we can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mata. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mata. Thank you.
Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay, so I guess we can stop here. You all have a safe and wonderful. Hare Krishna.
Have a good day. Have